Hi everybody and welcome to the Squiggly Careers podcast. I'm Helen Tupper, one half of your normal Squiggly Careers team. This week Sarah has been off in the Lake District on holiday, and I would say she'd been sunning herself, but I think it might have been quite rainy. So while she has been away, I have had the pleasure of hosting our Setting Yourself Up for Success Squiggly Career series, where I've talked to 5 different guests, a different guest every day of the week, about a skill and an area that we think is just important for your development right now. And our thinking in designing this series was that we're coming up to September, and September always feels like a weird month in the world of work. And even with everything that is going on, we're still noticing that with September, and for some people their kids are going back into school, for some people they're kind of going back a bit of their time into an actual office, that people are starting to think a bit more about their career and want to invest in themselves. So that's sort of why we did this series. And we've covered lots of different things. We've covered strengths with Marcus Buckingham, building your brand with Bianca Miller-Cole. We've also covered rest with Alex Sujong Kim Pang. And with Megan Wright, we talked about speaking up at work. So these are all topics that we think will be really helpful to people when they're thinking about their development. And hopefully, if you haven't had a chance to listen to any of those yet, there might be something there that's interesting for you to go and listen to after today's episode. And today's topic is all about stress and self-care. And it's about really the efforts that you can take to look after yourself at work and really practically manage your work well-being. And my guest for this podcast is Rachael Welford. She is the founder of an organisation called Welford Wellbeing. She's a speaker, a holistic therapist, and also a mental health advocate. And what I love about Rachael is she kind of bridges alternative therapies, and by alternative therapies, I mean things like Reiki and sound therapy, which she is trained in, but also like practical application. So it's sort of like bridging the woo-woo, I think is probably quite a good term. She's very, very practical. She's very pragmatic, or she's just very expert in her understanding and explanation of these things. And I find that very, very interesting. And so in the conversation together, we discussed 3 main things. The first thing is meditation, and it's specifically how you can fit meaningful meditation into just 3 minutes a day. And so if you're someone that's struggled with creating a habit of meditation in the past, or you think you'd like to try it but you don't know where to start, I think her advice is very practical, very simple, and can make a significant difference. We also talk about reprogramming your beliefs. So maybe there are some negative narratives that you tell yourself and create for yourself that might hold your well-being back, and she talks a little bit about how we can unpick those, and also how you can consciously practice better habits. So I hope that you find this interesting. I hope you're able to take something away from this that you can put into action for you and your work and your well-being. I think self-care is hugely, hugely important. And whether it's, you helping yourself, or maybe you pointing someone else that might need it in the direction of this podcast, that's what we'd love you to do after listening to it. So let's get started. Hi, Rachael.
Hi, welcome. Thanks for having me.
If people are listening, and so whether you feel unwell at the moment, and this is about stress today, so maybe you're feeling stressed, or whether you are feeling well, but you just want to keep feeling well and keep feeling well. Let's talk maybe some things that people can do practically.
I just really want to highlight that as a topic as well. Like most of us, myself included, I never was into wellness until I got to the point where literally I had no choice but to get into wellness. And I think a lot of people in the wellbeing industry, if you speak to them, generally most of us have got a story of why we got into this, and it's because we had something awful happen, and so we had to make, extreme lifestyle changes to get well. And now we just want to share with everyone, by the way, this is awesome,
It works.
And I think this is the thing, a lot of people are under a lot of stress all the time, and the body is incredibly clever. So the body likes things to be the same, doesn't really care what that same is, as long as it's the same. So I think anything you can do day to day to help yourself with your wellness or your well-being is imperative. Often what we do is we try and overload ourselves with wellness. So we'll be like, right, I'm going to completely revolutionise my diet. So no more wheat, no more dairy, no more sugar, raw food only, or whatever. We go on this really extreme thing. I'm going to meditate every day for an hour. I'm going to do an hour of cardio. I'm going to do some yin yoga. I'm going to only have a green juice. I'm going to have this raw celery juice. I'm going to have turmeric. I've got to take my vitamins. I've got to, that's stressing me out just thinking, let alone doing all of those things. And like at the moment, I have, a relatively disciplined routine. But at the beginning, I didn't have this relatively disciplined routine because I've added things over time. And so what I always say to people is pick one thing and just do one thing and do it well. Something you think you might enjoy or something you already enjoy, and just try and build that into your schedule however you can. So, for example, with meditation, what I recommend to people is 3 minutes a day, every day. If you can't find 3 minutes a day for yourself every day to sit quietly and just focus on your breath, something is incredibly wrong, and that needs to be looked at. Everybody, regardless of whether you've got kids and a job and all that stuff, if you can't find 3 minutes, it's 180 seconds. It's like how,
And just that process, I'm just thinking, because often, people will talk about, really great apps like Headspace or Calm, which will have like guided meditation. But if someone goes, you know what, okay, I'm listening to Rachel, I can do that. I can do 180 seconds a day. I don't need to download an app for it. The practical process for someone there is to find a quiet space.
So what I would recommend, if you want to get into meditation, and personally I think it is one of the most powerful and incredible tools that anybody can use. I really do. I'm not just saying that. I am a huge advocate for meditation. It has literally changed my life. And if I don't meditate, my mental health deteriorates. There's a direct correlation between the amount of meditation that I do and how well I am and how many symptoms I have of my, labelled diseases. So if you want to get into it, what I would recommend is just find a quiet space. You could sit on the edge of your bed. It doesn't have to be a special meditation. You don't have to go and buy any special equipment. Find somewhere where you can sit and not be disturbed for 3 minutes. Make sure you've got a straight spine. Don't put any pressure on your back. You don't have to sit in a kind of like crazy I'm a soldier straight, but just, gently stack spine so that you can get a deep lung full of breath. That's what we're aiming for with the straight back. It's more about actually creating lung capacity rather than when we're slouched, we can't breathe properly. And then count your breath. This is the easiest way to get into meditation. Simply as you breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. You don't have to have a specific number. You just count your breath. And you will probably think 3 minutes, a lot of the time I get this as well, what's the point? 3 minutes doesn't do anything. So what I would say to you is just meditate for a week for 3 minutes at a time and see if you start to notice the difference, because you probably won't notice the difference on your first day or your second day or whatever, but it's over time, it's increments of time that you start to notice the benefits. And actually within 3 minutes of focused breathing, a number of things happen in the body that are beneficial, regardless of whether you observe them happening or not, because you might not observe that actually your nervous system is starting to move from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic. You might not notice that as your breath starts to deepen, you're resetting your vagus nerve, which is part of the fight, flight, freeze system. As you breathe into the belly, you start to send signals to the body that say, I'm safe, everything's okay. Your body starts to relax. When the body starts to relax, you start to create different hormones than you create when you're stressed. And going back to what we were talking about before of the body liking everything to be the same, the body can get addicted to stress hormones. So if you're in a state of stress all the time, when you try and relax or you try and sit to meditate, your body's going to fight you. Your body's going to be like, where's my adrenaline? Where's my cortisol? I don't want DHEA. I don't want oxytocin. I don't want acetylcholine. I want these stress hormones. That's what I'm used to. Doesn't mean it's good for the body. It means it's what the body has become accustomed to. And this is another thing I always talk about. We are unconsciously practicing things all day. So why not consciously practice something better? We're practicing distraction because we're on our phone and then on our laptop and then talking to somebody while we're trying to type something. That's practicing distraction. So why not practice focus?
I really thought it was interesting just talking about meditation there, because I think it is something that probably could work for quite a lot of people, but a lot of people might have fallen into the I've tried it, it doesn't work for me trap. And the way that you talked about it as being this practical 3 minute a day, everything there, I think will be really, really, really helpful for people so they can put this conversation into action for them.
Can I just add to that as well? So there was something that I just wanted to, so basically when I'm thinking about stress management, I tend to work with this thing called the 3Bs. It's like a little thing that I put together because it makes it really easy for people to work with and to remember. So the first B is belief. If you believe stress is bad for you, you're more likely to die from stress-related diseases. There's proof of that. There was a research done that I learnt through a woman called Kelly McGognall, and they basically studied 30,000 adults in America. They tracked them over 8 years, and the research study showed that 43% of people had an increased risk of dying from stress if they had a lot of stress in their life. But that was only true if they believed that stress was harmful to their health. So we need to change our beliefs. And there's a guy called Dr. Bruce Lipton, him and Rupert Sheldrake and a number of different scientists are doing these incredible studies now into what we call epigenetics, which is basically the study of the power of belief. So this is things like the placebo effect, for example, is a really easy way of describing to people how belief can work as effectively as an actual medication. So you need to start to change your beliefs. If you are waking up every day and saying to yourself, I'm super stressed, my life's unmanageable, I hate my job, I don't know how I'm going to cope, right? You're actually programming your body and your mind to believe those things to be true. And I used to be like this. I used to believe that I was fat. I used to believe I was stupid. I used to believe I was an idiot. I used to think that, you know, there had to be more to life than this, all these beliefs that I would just be going on in my head all day. So a very quick, simple way of starting to reprogram your beliefs is to just simply say to yourself every day, I am happy, I am healthy, on repeat. Because neuroplasticity only works if you create a new neural pathway. And to create a new neural pathway, you need to have repetition. And that repetition needs to outweigh the negative thought.
Where can people go, Rachel, to find out more about your work and stay connected to what you do?
So there's a few places, I guess. I also have a podcast called Things I Wish I'd Known, so I'm going to give that a little plug. If you search TIWIK, T-I-W-I-K, on your favourite podcast platforms, you'll be able to find that. Basically a love letter to our younger selves of all the things we'd wish we'd known about a variety of different things, and we cover everything from suicide to spirituality and skincare, so it's pretty wide. You can also find me at www.welfordwellbeing.com. Welford is spelled W-E-L-F-O-R-D, wellbeing.com. Also on Instagram, I'm pretty active on there, which is at welfordwellbeing.com. And on Facebook, I have my page and also a private Facebook group called Clear Community, where we hang out and support each other through, you know, tips and tools on things like meditation, things we've been discussing today, but also with our mental health and various different things in there as well. So I think that's all the things where you can find me.
Thank you so much for listening to the conversation with Rachel. I hope you found it interesting. And if you've not had a chance to listen to any of the other episodes this week, please do so and send us your feedback. We'd love to know what you think, what you thought was good about the episodes. If there's anything that you think we could do even better next time, let us know. You can do that by emailing us. That's just Helen and Sarah at amazingif.com. And you can also get in touch with us on Instagram. That's just at amazingif. Other ways in which you can get support from us. So at www.amazingiflearning.com, we regularly run online interactive live learning sessions. So we take topics like values, progression, resilience, all the things that we think can help you in your work, in your career, and we run those interactive sessions. So do head there if you think you'd like some additional support. And obviously, if you are a regular listener, you'll know that we've got our book as well. That's just The Squiggly Career, and if you search for that, you'll find it, and you can listen to that in audiobook, or you can get the actual book too. So hopefully that might help you if you need a bit more support right now. Otherwise, I'll be back with you next week, but this time joined by Sarah. Hooray! She's back from her holidays, and we're going to be talking about the topic of identity. What it is, like why does it matter in the context of your work, and also how sometimes identity at work can go a bit wrong. You know, when those boundaries and those edges get a bit too blurry and you stop distinguishing yourself from your work, and it all gets a bit hard and a bit difficult. We're going to be unpicking some of that work and identity. So I hope you will join us to listen to that episode, and we'll be back with you then. Bye, everyone.